So, what was it like growing up round here, John?
Well, I live about 100 yards down that way.
Where are we?
So we're in Sharon Way in Withywood. This is kind of the end of the road for the buses that come into Withywood. The 36 used to stop at the bottom of Sharon Way and turn around.
Yeah.
And basically our back garden's backed onto these fields. These fields are what we call Dundry slopes, I suppose.
Yeah.
And this was our main route to the countryside. I used to come out my front door, my house was down there on the left. And as I come out the front door, I never turned left and walked towards town. I always turned right and came this way. That's what I was going to school. Yeah. And it, you know, we used to come out from, I suppose, 9 o'clock in the morning till you could hear your mum calling you for tea. Every mother's voice was sort of distinctive. It's like, yeah, you know when you see the sheep in the field calling for their lambs. Yeah. That was like the mums calling their kids home for tea. And it was a crescendo. Once one started, all the others started.
There's going to be a lot of mums watching this, maybe. Yeah, yeah. Well, they might be of a certain age and they might not be watching it, but they might be thinking, bloody hell, he's calling me a sheep.
Yeah, it worked. All these kids would come running, look. But no, this is where we used to play. Build dens. Yeah, we playing hours and hours in the fields. In fact, the field behind us, this is where one of the first adventure playgrounds was built in Bristol. I suppose I was probably 6 or 7, so that would have been 50 years ago now.
Wow.
Yeah.
What happened to that?
I think funding streams normally. It was being run by volunteers and they were getting tiny little snippets of funding, we've done sponsored walks and charity football matches and stuff. And I think it was just a shift change. Like all the kids that were involved with the Venture Playground all kind of grew up and we all moved to the youth club.
What was your first memory of nature around here?
I thought about this when you sent me the questions and I can remember quite a lot. I can remember back, my very first memory was probably as a 4-year-old being kissed on the cheek for a photograph of my brother in Bristol Zoo. So that's kind of nature. And I can remember that photograph being photo. Whenever I look at that photograph, that memory becomes alive in my brain. So, and I can remember my first experience with nature was a bad one. We were in an area like that, and there was like a bit of a what we call a bomber where a tree had gone over, and we were building a den in the bottom of it.
Yeah, yeah.
And I can remember grabbing all this branch to pull myself out of this bomber, and I must have disturbed a bee's nest. And the next one, my head was completely surrounded in bees, and I was legging it down this field with all my mates running behind me, screaming my head off. Ran in the back door. My mum was at work. My mum works at a cafe on the A38. So my next door neighbour's back door I ran in, which she did back then.
Yeah, yeah.
And she didn't recognise me. And my
face,
just because of the bee stings. I can remember my mum coming home from work and having a bit of a breakdown and crying her eyes out. And, you know, going through all the emotions. And I took me to the hospital. I couldn't do a lot about it, and I just basically sat there for 24 hours with loads of ice on my face.
And that's all they could do.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Just the time and just let it.
Yeah, just let it go down. Like. But I mean, it didn't affect me. It didn't give me a phobia about bees or wasps. It didn't leave any mental scarring. So I think I do feel bee stings now. I mean, I've been stung almost annually with my job I do at the moment. And I sort of, it hurts more and more now. I get to the point where I'm almost...
If you ever get stung by a bee again, I'm looking around because you never...
There's an antidote, is there?
Plantain. If you ever you'll find it,
yeah.
I'll show you it another time, but basically plantain is full of antihistamine.
Oh, right.
And it literally, you just crumple it up, there's greater plantain and lesser plantain, you crumple it up, literally chew it in your mouth and then pop it on it.
And then right. I remember that.
We might see it in a bit.
Yeah, we look for it. So that's my first experience.
Can you explain some experiences you've had in nature that have benefited you?
Well, I've always kind of used, nature's always been a secondary thing to other things, so I've always kind of used like a challenge or maybe an excuse to get out, to get fit, to do walking, to do hiking, do cycling. And I've always gone to nature for that. Even the different stages of my life growing up, when I was sort of in my early 20s and my children were young, our getaway was to get away to the coast. Do you know a lot about this yourself? Yeah. I was always drawn to getting the kids in the car. Sometimes on a Saturday night or a Friday night, we'd get the kids packed away and we'd drive to the coast 12 o'clock at night and we'd pitch camp on the beach and the kids would wake up in the car on a sort of Saturday morning, 6 o'clock to the sunrise. And that was our way of connecting with nature back then. And then the kids grew up and weren't interested in coming out with us and getting too much in nature.
I've got that all to come.
Yeah. And I think it starts at about 8 now. It's starting at 13 with mine. But so me and Bridget, my partner, my wife, we started going out for walks. We used to take the dog out for a walk, and these walks got more and more, they got bigger and bigger and took up more and more of our weekends, and we ended up every Sunday taking a guidebook and going out to the Cotswolds with the Mendips, Brecon Beacons, you know, we'd do up to 15 miles with a flask of soup and stuff, and that was another way we used to get out into nature. And it really benefited me. I mean, what we used to say when we were out walking, and even when we were out with the kids, was whatever was troubling you that week, whatever it was, electric bills, a car not working, some issue at work, as soon as you got away, as soon as you got out of nature, it all fell away. You started to think back to basics. It made me feel like I belonged, if you know what I mean. Like the countryside I'm not a townie as such. Although I live on the edge of a town, got all the conveniences of being in town, 24-hour garages, all night takeaways. But I'm in nature here. I can come out my front door, walk to Dundry, and I'm there, aren't I? And that connects me with nature, but it also gives me an experience with nature where I know how a horse is going to behave. I kind of know what cows do in a field. I know when to put the dog on the lead. You know, it just gives you those, growing up, it's kind of tools that you take on secondary. You don't even realise you're taking them on. You just know you learn how to behave in the right environment and how to change your behaviour when you're in different environments, I suppose.
What things do you personally do then that supports people or helps people and planet?
All the usual stuff. I do, the recycling. I try to be quite regimental with that. You know, and even when I'm in other people's houses as well, I don't know if you find yourself doing other people's recycling.
I don't do that, but my missus is
got a bit of OCD on that. So, I mean, it's just all the general things. If I can walk somewhere, I'll walk somewhere. If I can cycle somewhere, I prefer to cycle somewhere. I've got a real passion for building furniture and upcycling materials. I mean, both me and my wife. My wife likes to make paper mache life-size animals out of the bin, basically.
Wow.
She takes like a year to make them, and they're fantastic. They go in the garden for the kids. And I tend to make upcycled pallets into furniture. And
I've seen them actually.
Yeah, I've done quite a bit of that.
Right. Really good.
Just finished a table that I salvaged some wood from a burnt out rain shelter out in Goblin Tomb, where the kids had a party there one night and burned the rain shelter down. So I took the wood. I had to get the wood out anyway because it was on site. It was a mess. But I've managed to shave off all the black burnt wood and it's come out. It's got a real nice effect on it. Built myself a dining table and some benches from the new place that I'm going to be building this year.
But that's a key thing. Isn't it? It's interesting you say that, because that whole thing about reusing, borrowing, sharing.
Yeah. Upcycling it's a bit of a trendy cliche, isn't it? Upcycling, but you can take a bit of rubbish, give it a use in the house, and it's almost become fashionable now, hasn't it?
Yeah, but what the benefit? I mean, like the fashionable bit, but there's the benefit. What the benefits? The benefits are to your pocket.
Yeah, it's your pocket.
Do you know what I mean? The benefits are to the planet because the trees ain't getting chopped down. Mental health. Yeah. All your key skills, problem solving, and budgeting, and you do it. Yeah, it all comes in there. Volunteering's a big thing. You know, if you can if you want to, get out and do some volunteer gardening with a local gardening group, whatever takes your fancy, find something that makes you feel good, whatever it is, and go and volunteer with a group that does it, because it'll make you feel a lot better about yourself. Brilliant for self-esteem, brilliant for confidence. Interesting, isn't it? Because it's the impact. You know, I started doing all this. I've volunteered for years.
Yeah.
Started getting paid stuff and all the rest of it, and it is that something that. You get that warm fuzzy feeling inside that you're doing something and making a difference. And not only is it helping you, it's helping other people or the planet, depending on what you're doing.
It's a no-brainer. You're learning, aren't you? You're getting experience. You're learning from people that are already in that job doing it, and they're passing on their skills to you. You're getting your name out there. You know, the amount of jobs I've got just from doing some volunteering. It's turned into a full-time job of a passion. You know, I volunteered once to do some cycling, to cycle with tandems for life cycle. And I ended up being a ride leader. So every Sunday they paid me £15 an hour to take a group of people out on tandems across the countryside.
That's because you've proven yourself to be exactly what they're looking for. Why are they going to bother going and advertising for someone when they know that they've got you that can do it?
So the opportunities that open up once you start volunteering. Like another one, I'm about to start building my own house. Got involved with a project in the Leader Centre that we could make. They're looking at providing affordable housing for the community, being designed and built by the community, and I'm going to become part of that community and build my own house. So once you start getting involved in volunteering, especially getting local volunteering, it just opens up all sorts of snowballs, another world.
So we were rudely interrupted by the dogs.
Yeah.
But you were just saying about things that you do to help people and planet, and you started talking about we can make instead about building your own house.
Got involved with We Can Make about 3 years ago when I bumped into Melissa Mean of North West Media Centre. I had a need for housing. I was in temporary housing. I was separated from my wife. And Melissa had a fantastic idea about getting the local community to build affordable housing in their community. Not a great deal of green space around Knoll that can be built on. Whatever green space there is, we really need, because there's not open green spaces for people to use, but there is a lot of green space in people's gardens in Knoll. And Melissa came up with the idea that anybody that doesn't want that green space, people that are struggling to use that green space, there's a lot of people with health issues in Knoll, can't get out in the garden. If they're prepared to give up their garden, we can use that space to put a small, affordable, sustainable living pod in. And basically it's a 1 or a 2 bedroom box built from sustainable materials. They're sourced locally, they're built locally, they're built in a factory. Norwest run a
with volunteers, factory. Local people.
They're built with the community. So basically what you do is you get people to sign up to workshops to learn modern methods of construction, digital fabrication, robotics. We learned all about this through the process of building these houses. It's even happening in other parts of Bristol. There's an organisation in Lockleys doing it called Snug.
I know that.
They were, the guy behind there is the guy who built the yard down in St Werburgh's. He's building these Snug houses. So they're up and running. There's another organisation in South Bristol that can build some community homes. So
is it local people doing it?
It is, yeah. Because we've kind of formed a local network now. I mean, once you start talking and you start speaking, especially when you start speaking with common connectors like the council or certain architects and stuff like that, you start linking up with people that are doing the same.
Have you learnt anything over lockdown? Any tips that has helped your well-being?
Well, it's been a long time, hasn't it? A year now. Yeah. The first lockdown I was furloughed, and I think looking back and reflecting now, what have I learned? I've learned to be more patient.
More patient?
More patient, yeah, because lockdown, I think for everybody, instead of just being able to go bang, bang, right, I want that now, I want that tomorrow, I'm going to do that. I've learned to sit back and wait a little bit now. You know, learn to queue.
Learn to queue?
Learn to stand
that's patience.
Yeah, that's being patient. And I think that it's been quite reflective. I think a lot of people took a breather with the first lockdown, and it maybe made them reflect on their life a little bit, and it did give us that opportunity to get out a bit more. We had to exercise and we had to do certain things. We couldn't cut ourselves off from the world entirely, and I think we all found little loopholes or ways of getting our fixes. So yeah, the second lockdown I went back to work, and I needed to go back to work because I was getting a bit, I was like a sort of fly on a hot tin roof, or cat on a hot tin roof. I needed to get back. I needed to be active. In the first lockdown, I'd done a couple of workshops with the media centre again. We were learning about modern methods of construction, digital construction, robotics, and I built some furniture. So it kind of brings together what we've been talking about already. I was able to design and build some furniture for the workshops.
So are they things, just to jump in, they're things that you're interested in?
Yeah.
So it feels like, from everything we spoke about, like, sort of butting in, but we're like, carry on. But it's things you're interested in. You found out what they are because you've had time to reflect, to think about it.
Really, yeah.
And those things that you are interested in just so happen to help your well-being.
Yeah.
But they help the planet and the wider communities as well.
No-brainer, really.
But you say it's a no-brainer unless you've had that experience or you heard someone talking about it and maybe someone's tuned you onto it. It ain't. It's perfect hearing it.
When you said experience, I suppose it's experience. We had a conversation before. I've learned most from all my mistakes. I don't learn from my successes. When I've achieved something, all I've learned is I can do that. I know I can do that, and I tend to want to move away from it straight away. I've done that. I'm on to the next one. I don't go back to a piece of furniture I've made and start playing about with it. Once it's built, it's built. I won't even paint it sometimes because I just got fed up with it by that stage. So, but my mistakes I learn a lot by. And what I've learned is to not be a slave to money, not be a slave to a mortgage. I've reduced my outgoings rather than trying to always increase my income. So my outgoings are less. That's going to save the planet. I'm not spending and consuming so much. And then you start connecting with people that are feeling a similar sort of thing to you, or that are interested in a similar sort of thing.
And it grows.
And you start to bond, and all of a sudden you are a community. Yeah. Whether you're a community of certain sports or you're a community of a certain pastime, well, just because you all live in the same street, you become a community, and you start to find out not just your common interests, but your differences as well.
Yeah. And celebrating the differences, that goes into a lot of things, but celebrating the differences and championing all the things that are the same, and We're all people here at the end of the day, aren't we?
So yeah, so that would be my big bit of advice: to get involved.
That's a good thing.
Go out and get stuck in.